Hey guys, I'm Zach with Farm Table West, and I wanted to do a late June farm tour for you today, and because everything is pretty much exploding, um, and lots happened since the last time I did one of these tours. I'm a lot more tired, which is probably why my voice sounds different, because planting everything behind me is quite a bit of work, but I finally have some paid help with the farm and gonna have some more this summer, so that's a huge deal for me. It's the first time I've ever had any paid employees because yeah, doing all this transplanting and planting is a lot of work, and the harvesting is even more work. So but I'm really excited to show off all this stuff. So um, behind me I've got my onions, which I believe I talked about in the last farm tour, but they have absolutely exploded. They are at least as tall as my knee right now, which um, is a lot taller than last year. Um, these things still have a good, I don't know, 6 to 8 weeks of growing before they'll be done, and they are just massive. They're these are all white onions. Or no, these are yellow, I think. These are red, but just look at how thick that stalk is right there. That's my finger, and that's the stalk, or that's my thumb. It's as thick as my thumb already, and it's June 30th today. So these guys are exploding. I'm definitely gonna always grow onions from seed from now on. Did last year I did grow them from, they were grown from seed, but I got them from this place in Texas that grows them, you know, in I don't know, February or something, and they ship you the little starts, and I'm sure that they do a great job. It's just kind of rough when it's shipped to you, and you let them sit around for a couple weeks. I'm sure they don't grow as fast, because these were planted perfectly green, like right out of my nursery, and they have absolutely exploded. And it's been a really rainy, wet June. This is the most rain I've ever seen in June. We're in Wyoming, and we've had a good 6 to 8 inches of rain in the last month, which is unheard of. We actually had flash flooding and hail about a week ago. So everything you see here has been hailed on, and it's doing fine. It's not really hurt at all. The onions were kind of beat up, and they are growing just fine because the root system's tough enough. And then zucchinis, summer squash, they all got hailed on. They got probably the most out of damage, but they're just fine. They're still gonna be, that's a summer squash right there. Right there, there's some squash, and that's pretty cool. I think we're gonna actually have this producing by next week. These are, I think they're like goldy yellow goldy yellow zucchinis, and then these are patty pans. They're real popular. They're so tender. They have a little bit more sweetness than the other ones. So here's arugula. That's not all that exciting. That's just a big restaurant crop that we sell. And then we've got to put these insect netting on it to keep the flea beetles off. Real weedy bed of radishes, parsley, kale, everybody's favorite. We got a veggie box CSA pickup this year that I'm hoping to put those in. That's why I only have a tiny little bed of it, because it's not a super popular seller, but it's good for those kinds of things. And then these are the shallots, and these we did, I did these in transplant plugs. So it was, I think they were like 128 flats and 3 cells per. I took a huge amount of time to seed these back in March, because I wanted to make sure I actually got 3 seeds, and it was worth it, I think, because that's going to be 3 big shallots. It's almost going to be a pound, probably over a pound right there. And those are worth a lot, more than onions, and they sell really well around here and store probably till May of next year, which is that's why I'm growing so much of this stuff, because I have, you know, till May of next year to sell it all. and that's big. Having crops in the winter to sell is a huge deal around here, just because I grow a lot of winter crops, and like spinach and salad mix and microgreens and all of these shallots and stuff. Having those up until May will be really help sell all the green stuff, because it gets kind of boring to see a table full of green stuff in March, because that's kind of what happens. But this is our last bed of carrots, and the germination is pretty bad on it because we had that flooding. And I think what happened was a lot of the I mean, there's a lot of carrots here actually. I might still keep this bed, but I'm probably going to replant it again on Monday. But the rain we've had is kind of rotted a lot of seeds. I actually had a whole bed of green beans that pretty much half the seeds rotted, which was wild. I've never seen that happen before. And we also had slugs too, which is really rare. I don't think that ever happens around. I've never seen a slug around here before, but we've had so much rain we actually got slugs. These are our first field carrots, and they're doing pretty good. Let's see if we can see that. I don't know. It's so hard to see what I'm looking at in the sun. But yeah, there's some carrot right there. First field carrots of the season. Those are almost ready. That's awesome. Yeah, it's really cool. This is a cool time of year. It's when everything is just on the, it's like I call it the calm before the storm, because they run right on the 4th of July. Everything is like 90% ready, and we got the 4th of July next Tuesday. So it's like 90% ready, but not quite ready. And once it is, all of these things need to be harvested, you know, right on time. Ooh, this is pretty cool. It is such a cool time of year because everything is changing like every day. So this is our broccolini, which is a really fast broccoli. It grows like, I think it's supposed to be a 38-day crop or something. You know, it never really happens like that in the spring, but it's almost ready. It's gonna start, there's one of them that's actually starting to head, and as soon as they start doing that, it's like any day. So right there, kinda. Well, I saw one of them actually had a little broccoli, but yeah, any day now these guys are gonna start pumping out broccoli stalks, which these are super tender, sweet, kind of like asparagus. This is our last bed of salad turnips for a while. Well, those are weeds, but I had a lot of weeds in my manure that I used to amend the soil this spring. But these will be out of the ground in like a week. But these things are so good. They're little white balls of deliciousness, basically. They're like apples almost. Hockerized salad turnips. They're a great crop if you're you know, if you have this insect netting to keep the root maggots off of them. They grow in like 40 days. They can fill your storage, your fridge or your root cellar real quick. And then we got regular. This is definitely growing a lot slower, but that's because mostly like the variety, and then this is just really bad soil, to be honest. I just irrigated here, so that's why it looks halfway decent, but it's pure concrete I'm growing in. So I'm really working on trying to get the amendments or the soil to be more like that, but it's pretty difficult. I've added a ton of compost to this, and it's still just concrete. I'm trying out this new method of flipping beds. So this was arugula yesterday, and today I've basically used a wheel hoe, cut the arugula, and just left it there and put compost on top and planted lettuce right into it. Because I've seen a lot of people do that in greenhouses and stuff, and I know it's a lot less work than moving compost or moving the crop and replanting and all that stuff. So now that I have a lot of crops to transplant, I'm pretty excited about goofing around with that, because that saves a ton of work to just plant right into the old crop. And I grow a lot of arugula, so that's good, basically like a cover crop. And yeah, that's what I did here too. I'm not even sure what I'm going to plant there yet, but that's going to be something Monday. And these are beets, just transplanted today. Beets, dill, and these green onions right over here. that was spinach like a week ago. And then I just did the same thing, kind of cut it and replanted right into it. And that's what it looks like. Spinach just kind of melts into the soil and becomes soil. So saves some work, which I like. That's because saving work is good. So now I'm going to show you the other greenhouse. All right, so this is our unheated greenhouse, which back in April was mostly lettuce and beets, green onions, stuff like that. And we've flipped all that since then and planted tomatoes in May. I think in the last video they were probably about a foot tall, and now they're 4 to 5 feet tall. They're just exploded. So I'm actually excited to go back and look at the difference, because I lose track. You know, part of the reason I'm doing these videos is just so I have a record of everything, because when you're here every day you don't really notice the changes much. But got some cool, this is right here behind me, that white flower is a carrot I let go to seed, and it smells unbelievable. I've never smelled I'm not really that into flowers, but that one smells like carrot cake. It's incredible. So I got to show you that close up. This is, I'm not really going to save seed on this, but that is just, I wish you could smell that, because it is out of this world. It's a nice little just puff of heaven, you know, every time you walk past it. And actually the real reason I'm leaving it is because you see all those bugs on there. Not the grasshopper, that's annoying. I don't know, grasshopper's never really been a problem here, but I'm hoping that doesn't change. But there is grasshoppers in here, but there's lots of pollinators all over this place, all over this. There's all these little oh, I don't know what you call them, little wasps. I mean, there's tons of them, and they're I wanted to leave this in here to bring in so they could start pollinating the tomatoes, and it looks like they are. I see them flying all over the place. And I also did the same thing with this arugula. You see, I let this arugula, this is like arugula from April, and that's what these flowers are. So I just let some of it keep growing and flower, and it's doing the same thing. It's bringing in pollinators, which is really cool. So I don't have to buy bees or anything to pollinate, because everything in here needs a pollinator. Like all these peppers, and this is pretty cool. We're doing bell peppers up a string like this, and I've never done that before. I've never even grown peppers at all before. So we got a little bit of serrano peppers, jalapeno, and then the rest is going to be red, yellow, and orange bells. But these flowers are so cool. Look at there, right there is a bee. I don't know if you can see that, but he's there. And that's what we want. They're coming in and going to pollinate these things. And so there's a little bit of a sad story here going on. I don't know exactly what caused it, but what you're looking at, with the reason these tomatoes look kind of weird, is because of herbicide drift, most likely. I've kind of ruled out all my other possible contaminants. I've ruled out the compost and the potting soil, because I've grown other things in it and it was totally fine. But there's a lot of herbicide being sprayed around here, so a lot of, you know, people growing hay and stuff. So when they're doing big broadcasts, I think what happens is they'll do a big broadcast and it'll blow. If the wind's blowing a little bit, it will sort of come my direction and come in the doors. And because if you look, the worst of it is kind of where the doors are, because it's not as bad in the middle, and it'll just kind of plume in and hit the plants, and they start curling up like this. Luckily, they usually grow out of it. I've seen it the last couple years. Last year, my dad actually spot sprayed right by that door, and I had half the door closed, and the only ones that really got hit were the ones right by the door, so I know it was herbicide. And they did grow out of it, and they still produce pretty well, but I know it slows them down, because this is about what it should look like. This one doesn't really have any damage, and well, it's not exactly true. I mean, there's a lot of things that went wrong with these tomatoes, but besides the herbicide. So every tomato is going to be a blessing this year. I'm going to be excited about it. But yeah, we got lots of red slicers. Mostly this whole row is red slicers. This whole row is kind of a greenhouse heirloom. It's not really an heirloom because it is a hybrid, but it's kind of, it's red, or no, it's purple, pink, and yellow. Really gorgeous looking slicer. They're called Margold, Marnero, and Pink Wonder from Johnny's. And I just tried my first one from the other greenhouse the other night, and they are actually not that good. I'm pretty sad about that. They're not really like an heirloom, but it's just kind of how it works a lot of the times with these greenhouse varieties. They don't taste the greatest, but they produce really well and don't get disease as much. So we'll see. It's gonna be fun. They grow a lot different though. Each type of plant has a very different growth habit. You know, like these guys are so much leggier than the beefsteaks. They're much more like, I don't know, like a cherry, and they have weird suckers. And then here's some more, lots more of the slicers, and these were planted later. I had to flip the beds really weirdly this year. Next year I'm hoping to not have to do that, or I'll just plant them all at the same time and they'll grow at the same time. But they're doing pretty well, all things considered. And then this whole row is basically, it's a Granadero paste tomato. So here's a whole bunch of them right there. And they're really nice greenhouse producer of paste. They absolutely are prolific. I grew these San Marzanos and Blue Beach last year, and Blue Beach is probably my favorite tomato I've ever had. Absolutely delicious flavor, but I kind of like that acidic flavor. But these guys are not bad, and they produce a lot more. Oh wow, I think that's a different tomato. Huh? That's funny. I don't think that's a roll. That's funny. We'll find out. Yeah. I had a lot of things get mixed up when I planted these, so I'm sure that's what happened. But cool thing is every tomato will get sold, because I freeze whatever I don't sell at the market and then sell it in the winter, and it works great. People love it for stews and soups and stuff. It works just, if you ever grow your own tomatoes, you should definitely do that. It really is amazing way to preserve the tomatoes, because you can use them just like canned, and you don't have to can. All you got to do is make sure you get all the green crap off them and bag them, and you're good. Oh, and then here we got cherries. This is a Sun Peach. This is probably the tomato I'm most excited about this year. It's never had it before, but I think this is an heirloom also, and it's supposed to be one of the best tasting heirlooms. And it's like a pink color. So yeah, it's looking phenomenal. And a lot of these are grafted plants also, so that's sort of like so like right there, you can see the graft, I think. So what I did was grow the rootstock tomato and the variety I wanted back in March and January for the two different successions. And supposedly you get like 30% more tomatoes when you do this grafting thing. So I'm trying it out this year, but it was really hard. I screwed it up really bad. So only about half of these are grafted. And so far it definitely looks like the grafted ones are a little bit more vigorous, because you look at that row all over there, there's about 50 in the last row, and all 50 of them are taller than the other ones. But we'll see. And I got actually ripe tomatoes in the other greenhouse. So, and oh, and there's some celery and basil growing. Finally got that all planted. And these white PVC tubes are for wrapping the tomato plant around, because it gets real complicated when they get really long, because we're going to be lowering and leaning these guys. And I'll show you that in a minute, because in the other greenhouse we've already started doing it. But here's our celery that I'm going to grow and just pick the stalks, and they bunched. So each plant will produce like 4 bunches of celery, a really good amount. So it's like a lot more celery than just one head. And so it's a good technique if you're a gardener too, because you don't have to use like a whole bunch of celery all at once. Basil with some nice grass coming in. We got a nice that's why I got this cardboard here. The grass is just crazy. See how tall it is over there. I need to put like a piece of plastic underground to stop it from growing underneath the greenhouse, but it's all right. And these cukes are the second batch, and they have absolutely exploded. I planted these probably right about the time I filmed the last video, and they're already 4 feet tall. They're just so fast. They grow like 2 feet a week now. I mean, these were clipped on Monday. It's Friday now. That's a foot of growth already. They're just ridiculously fast. So we're gonna be these are pickling and what else? You know, they're the pickling kind and the slicing kind. So they're a lot of fun. I actually really like growing them. I've never grown cucumbers in a greenhouse before. Wanted to get good at tomatoes first, and I'm still not that good at it, but didn't want to overwhelm myself. Peppers should be a lot of fun. They're very slow growing though. I'm sure that's kind of normal. It's still been pretty cold here at night. It's been like 55 at night, which is actually normal for here. It's just a cold, nights are cold, but yeah, look at all those bees. That's exactly what I want to see. That's awesome. That's why I left all these flowers, because it's bringing in, man, I don't even know what that is. I don't think those are just more arugula. Yeah, so that's pretty exciting. And then let me show you the oh, one more thing I forgot to talk about. So I have been goofing around with Electroculture the last couple videos, and I just harvested carrots out of this whole bed this week. I think the whole bed, almost the whole bed I harvested this week. I know some of it was earlier. And so I got my little stick with the copper wrapped around, facing north at the top. I did 3 of these. I did one here, one there, and one at the end I moved already. And I wasn't super scientific, but I did track my yield every 3 feet radius around the actual stick. And I do track my yield a lot with carrots. It was absolutely no different than the rest of the bed. In 3 different places, I got 8 bunches per 3 feet each time. So I don't know if I did it wrong. I'm a little bummed, so I really wanted that to work, and I'm gonna still goof around with it all summer. But so far, that has been enough. Like, I've grown carrots. I've like thousands and thousands of pounds of carrots, and I did not see a difference at all. So I kind of know what I'm looking for with a really good yield of carrots. So could have been a lot of other factors. It's all right, but I got a little bit going on in the other greenhouse too. That was, I still haven't seen much of a difference there either. But I'm still gonna put all these Electrocultures around the tomatoes at least and just see, because it's like, why not? And I still haven't tried a lot of the fancier versions of Electroculture that I want to do the atmospheric antenna and all that fun stuff, but I just haven't had time. A lot of other projects going on here. I'm experimenting with a couple other things at the same time, so okay. So here's the spring greenhouse, and it's completely on fire right now. Everything in here is producing. So let's turn around. So here's what the tomatoes look like when you start to lower and lean them, and that's what these white PVC things are for. So you start wrapping them around, and then you use these hooks to kind of leapfrog the clips and lower the plants every week. It works really well, because otherwise I think these are probably already 10-12 feet tall or something. And since it's been so humid, we have a lot of this going on, a little bit of blight, and I hope it's not a huge deal. We'll see. If I get these to produce through August, I'd be happy. Produce good tomatoes, but they just started. I picked 34 pounds today out of these 3 rows, and I think next week it'll be a lot more. It's going to be probably close to 90 pounds a week coming up here. We had 57, and yeah, it's pretty exciting. All of the ripening ones are already picked, but there actually might be a few more. But yeah, see, these are what those heirlooms look like. So it's a goofy looking plant. It's just a lot leggier. um, and but there's a lot of cat facing going on, so they kind of look like an heirloom. Well, let's see, these aren't really cat facing too much, but yeah, they look gorgeous. These are, I don't even know what color they are, because that's one of the problems I'm having. I'm having a hard time figuring out when they're ripe, because the yellow ones are really tricky. They don't look ripe. But there's a ton of them, and they have barely started to produce. It's just going to be a bumper crop, which is great. And the cherry tomatoes have been going for a good month now. I've been picking them. I think the last video I picked one, and they're really pumping now. The oh, that's frustrating. Wow. Okay, so this is what happens when you put too much weight on the upper part of the plant. It breaks because there's so much weight on the tomatoes. Oh, that's too bad. Yeah, so I'm getting used to this. It's only the second year I've ever done this. Oh, there's a blush right there. That probably happened since this morning because I picked this already. Cool. So yeah, this whole clip system is still a learning curve. I got a lot to learn with it. Probably need to clip it farther down the plant or something. But yeah, that's been happening a lot lately. There's so much weight on the plants that they're breaking and stuff. So still learning there. And our cukes, this is what the cukes look like, you know, when they're really going. And these are probably, some of these are probably 20 feet long. They're already wrapped around 10 feet past the white pole here. And they have just been awesome. Every day getting a whole bunch of these slicing cukes. And then our early summer squash is really going crazy too. Picking these almost every day. These were both planted back in March, and they're doing great. Haven't used the geothermal much lately because it's not really doing much anymore at this time of year. It's too warm. And then here's our, I believe I talked about this in the last video, but this is my Jadam fertilizer, JLF, Jadam liquid fertilizer. And as you can see, it is absolutely disgusting. This is the grass fertilizer. So basically what I did was fill this thing full with grass. Really nice green spring grass, dandelions and thistle. And so that broke down after 2 weeks. I put some leaf mold soil in there, and now that liquid is supposed to be really good fertilizer. And then this is our crop residue fertilizer. So it's the same idea, but you're using like I had a bunch of green tomatoes from plants I wanted to go vegetative, and I picked all those tomatoes and they're rotting in there, and that's supposed to give you the perfect liquid fertilizer for all these crops. That's kind of the whole concept of Jadam, is using build fertility for really cheap. So I'm excited about that, because I think for buying in fertilizer is just going to get more and more expensive all the time. So and I just built this yesterday, a way to inject the fertilizer into my drip lines, called Farmer Dre on YouTube. This idea, it's a DIY fertilizer injector basically out of PVC, and I'm just making a few tweaks to it, because you need to have you have to put pipe dope on the end, because that's pipe thread on the PVC, and you make it hose thread. But check out that video from Farmer Dre, DIY fertilizer injector, if you're interested in this, because it's super cheap. I think this cost me about 40 bucks to make, and to buy it, it's about $150, $200 for this whole setup. But basically what this does is it sucks up your liquid fertilizer in a 5-gallon bucket and puts it in your drip line or wherever you want. I mean, you could do it in a actually, yeah, we could use it in the hoses in the sprinkler system too. And it's cool, you can control how fast it goes in, and it should distribute it really evenly, because I was using a watering can before, and that's just a pain to do on my scale. So this is pretty exciting. I'm going to finish those up tomorrow. I'll have one in each greenhouse. And then last thing is this is our celery that's ready to pick now. This is all ready to pick. I'm going to pick it this week, and we're going to pick out every stalk that's really big and juicy. And then what you're left with for the first picking is something like that. That's what you get when you're doing this. Actually, there's a few more I could probably pick there. So that was like one whole bunch on this plant, and you can sell that bunch for $3. So it'll produce probably 3 or 4 more of those. And then our early basil is doing all right. There's a lot of problems with humidity in this greenhouse this year, just because it's been so humid and I haven't had the greatest ventilation in here. But it's doing okay. There's a lot of basil there. So, and then our nursery is not super exciting right now, but lots of this is going in the fall. Mostly lettuce. Lettuce is a real popular crop right now, but it's actually pretty empty. I got a couple of sunflowers that are volunteer from back when I was growing microgreens. But yeah, other than that, just wanted to jump on and give you a little update on everything, because a lot has been happening. It's just the time of year, and next time I'll probably have a whole lot more tomatoes and other stuff. Oh, you know, I never talked about this. So this is our, I don't know if you can see any of that, but that's basically the tool rack, and that's where I keep all of the tools to make a lot of this stuff happen. Let me go over this stuff here. Handy if you are a gardener, or if you have a really big garden. Like that tool right there is a wheel hoe, and that's probably my absolute favorite tool. It's pretty expensive. It's $300–400, but it's good enough to last a lifetime if you maintain it. And this helps when you need to flip a bed really quick or weed the paths. If you have like a good 1/4 acre of growing space, you could do it in a really quick time. And it's basically a hoe that'll cut the weeds at the base, and they'll be you know, pretty much dead. It doesn't exactly kill them all. You know, they do regrow a lot, but they're never really a problem. That's our landscape rake. This is a zipper. That's a pretty cool tool. You kind of dig a little trench and it closes it up. It doesn't work super well in my soil because my soil is concrete, but I'm working on that. This is a brand new tool I got. It's a really fancy digging fork, and you could use 2 hands with it, so it's awesome for carrots. I could do carrots a lot easier than the old ones that I get at the hardware store. And then that's something you've probably seen before, a shovel. And then our gritter, that's for plant spacing. It kind of helps keep all the rows and stuff organized. And tilther for working in amendments. It's sort of like tilling in the first inch. This is a cultivator, what do you call it? Wire weeders, all from Neversink Farm. Those are really, really good tools. This collinear hoe is probably the best weeding tool out there. So good. You could use it for everything. And it's such a long stick, so you never have to bend over. It's just kind of like relaxing to do. I would definitely get that even for a garden. That's a really nice one. It's basically a fancy stirrup hoe, but it's much more precise, because stirrup hoes are hard to get in tight spaces. But that's our broad fork, the new one I got this year from Johnny's. That's not new at all. I mean, they've had that for a million years, but it's a lot lighter than this hardcore one I got. That's probably twice the weight, but it's bomb-proof, and it works good in my concrete soil. But my soil is better now, so I can get away with that one. And then this is the Jang single row push seeder, which is pretty much the best one on earth. You can grow. That's how I plant all the carrots, radishes, arugula. It's perfect every time. Never have to thin. It's just bomb-proof. But a lot of market gardener guys are talking about that. It's not really new or anything, but it's bomb-proof. It's definitely worth every penny. Probably the best investment I've ever made, or one of the best. So that's what's growing on. And yeah, pretty soon we're gonna be starting our veggie box pickup here, right at this greenhouse behind me, right here in Zone 4B, Cody, Wyoming. And I think by actually right behind me here, in a month or two, I should have a new field right here that's going to be planted with winter crops and fall crops, and we'll have some caterpillar tunnels up by August, hopefully. We'll see. A lot of things gotta happen before that happens, but I gotta till up all this ground behind me, and we're gonna plant lots of winter carrots, stuff like that. Hopefully the deer don't eat it before I get the greenhouse on it, because the deer are really bad around here. So yeah, lots going on every year at the farm, but it's actually kind of light compared to building these other greenhouses. There's a lot more work. But yeah, anyway, that's what's growing on. Hope you enjoyed that, and we'll see you in the next one.